from Greensboro, North Carolina. We bring you second-round action in the East Region as the defending NCAA champion Duke Blue Devils continue their pursuit of a second straight title, meeting the ninth-seeded Iowa Hawkeyes. In action Thursday here in Greensboro, Duke, as expected, advanced with an easy victory over Campbell. Iowa outlasted Texas in a high-scoring game. Missouri beat West Virginia, and Seton Hall had to come from behind to beat LaSalle on Terry DeHare's jumper. Hello, everybody. I'm Mel Proctor along with Dan Bonner, and welcome to Greensboro. You know, Dan, the Duke Blue Devils are known for their defense, but they're also the best shooting team in the country.
Duke gets great shots. They convert great shots. And somebody that doesn't really get a lot of credit for the Duke Blue Devils is one of their best shooters, their second leading scorer, sophomore guard Thomas Hill. I'll tell you what, if he's shooting the ball well, this Duke team can be absolutely scary. And one of the scariest things about the Duke Blue Devils is their ability to get out on the fast break. It all starts with rebounding. Great rebounding position, what coaches call the rebounding triangle. You get the ball off the board, you get it to the point guard, Bobby Hurley. He takes it down the middle of the court. People like Brian Davis and Christian Laettner fill in on the wings. And for the Iowa Hawkeyes or anybody playing the Duke Blue Devils, you better be able to get back. You better be able to play defense because Duke is going to come at you like this all day long.
Dan, I know in talking to the Duke assistant coaches, they feel rebounding will be the key to this game. They're very concerned with Iowa's Chris Street, the third leading rebounder in the Big Ten.
At 6'8" and 200 pounds, a tremendous rebounder, particularly on the offensive end of the court, an extremely hard-working kid. And one of the keys for Duke, as you say, is going to be to keep Street and Acie Earl off the board.
And the lineup, James Moses had a terrific first-round game against Texas. He joined Street and Acie Earl on the front line with Smith and Barnes in the backcourt. Tony Lang remains in the starting lineup for Duke, but you'll see plenty of Grant Hill coming off the bench for the Blue Devils. And the officials today, Don Rutledge from Windermere Park, Florida, Dave Bear from Lexington, Kentucky, and Charlie Range from Fremont, California. Christian Laettner, who had 20 points, 9 rebounds in Duke's victory over Campbell. The ACC Player of the Year and a first-team All-American. A good matchup with Acie Earl of Iowa. And they'll get this one underway. This is Val Barnes teamed up in the backcourt with Kevin Smith, Earl, Moses, and Street on the front line. Earl, a good low-post player, looking to score early, and he's pushed out of bounds, but apparently he stepped on the end line. Looked like he might have had a hand in his back, but on the turnover, the ball goes over to Duke.
Duke in the man-to-man defense. Val Barnes actually ran into Acie Earl, knocked him out of bounds.
Looks like Iowa's opening up in a little pressure half court, dropping back to see a variety of defenses from the Hawkeyes. Tom Davis likes to change things up. You'll also see a constant stream of substitutes from the Iowa bench.
Iowa starts the game in a man-to-man. 1-2-2 zone is really their main defense.
Chris Street is guarding Laettner right now. Brian Davis nails a three-pointer to give Duke the lead. The Blue Devils as a team were the second-best three-point shooting team in the country, and that's double dribble on Kevin Smith. So 2 turnovers on the first 2 possessions by Iowa. Tough way to start the game.
That's not the way Tom Davis wanted the game to start. Got to do it on the defensive end as well. There they go.
Moses with the steal to Barnes. And he converts to make it 3-2 Duke.
That's just a very poor inbounds pass.
1-3-1 trap by the Hawkeyes. Really not using that trap to force turnovers, just trying to slow the Blue Devils down. Davis misses a three-pointer. Laettner with the offensive rebound.
What strength inside.
Kevin Smith looks like he might be a little tight. He almost lost that dribble. What a game James Moses had against Texas, but he makes a mistake here. A player control foul and a third turnover by Iowa. But he was tremendous against Texas. He had career highs in both rebounds and assists against the Longhorns, as well as 22 points.
Iowa very anxious to attack Duke, but you've got to attack patiently. Here's they show that 1-3-1, and then Street goes right for Laettner. There's the block.
Acie Earl, the Big Ten's all-time leading shot blocker. To 2 Duke. Earl against Laettner. Might have been some contact. Oh, Look out, Street getting into it with Brian Davis. They got tangled up underneath. Appears to be no harm done. Street's a tough kid, boy. He likes to mix it up.
Brian Davis is a tough kid as well. Here's the battle for the rebound. Davis and Street, they just get tangled up, and Street takes him right out of bounds.
Well, Street gets credit for a takedown. What's that worth, 2 points?
That's right, 2.
Of course, Iowa has great wrestling teams, so maybe he snuck into the wrestling room and picked up some pointers. Brian Davis is left open. Laettner on the offensive board. 7-2, Duke.
Duke was worried about keeping Iowa off the boards. It looks like Iowa needs to do a better job keeping Christian Laettner away from the offensive glass.
Barnes gets inside, and will the basket count? The Hawkeyes think it should.
They're certainly pleading their case. Dave Bear and Charlie Raines going to talk about it. Barnes is a good, strong kid. And it's going to be ruled before the shot, and the Iowa bench is going crazy.
Foul is on Thomas Hill. Tom Davis doesn't agree with that call. He says score that goal. But they won't, and it's 7-2 Duke.
The foul was on the fake. That's a pretty good call.
Out of bounds to Duke. Still another turnover, the 4th turnover by Iowa in the early going.
This is the play that has Tom Davis upset. Nice pass inside to Barnes, posting up against Thomas Hill. There's the contact. That's a foul in the NBA, I think. That's a shooting foul in the NBA, but not in the NCAA.
James Winters, number 23, is in the game. He is guarding Christian Laettner, or at least attempting to. He's giving away quite a bit of size. He's only 6'5". Laettner moves outside. Great three-point shooter. Takes the three, takes it in closer. Earl with the rebound. Moses fills the lane on the break. Here comes Duke with a 3-on-1 fast break. Brian Davis on the dump off. And he and Kevin Smith staring daggers at each other. A little hostility in this game early.
This game is a little nasty early, Mel.
Well, 14 of the 16 top 4 seeds have advanced, but we've had some upsets. Arizona and Oklahoma both been eliminated. North Carolina going for the 11th straight Sweet 16. The Big Ten is doing a great job, as is the SEC so far.
As a matter of fact, the big conferences are doing very, very well. The power conferences have 23 of the 32 teams left.
Had some major upsets, though. East Tennessee State, a 14th seed, beat the 3rd-seeded Arizona team, and Southwest Louisiana, seeded 13th, beat number 4 Oklahoma. Mike Krzyzewski, who has won 80% of Duke's NCAA games, 28-7 in tournament play. Got a lane violation. Acie Earl was in the lane too early.
I'm sure Tom Davis would rather have that be a lane violation because it's been called a foul on Acie Earl. And I'll tell you what, Kevin Smith, number 10 for Iowa, is out there barking at all the Duke players. He was involved in that scrap with Street and Brian Davis, and then he was the guy who fouled Brian Davis, and Charlie Raines, one of the officials, had to tell him to cool it out there. That's Acie Earl. He hasn't been barking at anybody, just blocking shots.
Acie Earl picking up his first foul. He has not fouled out of the game the entire year, which is remarkable. Bobby Hurley with a three-pointer.
And Tom Davis is out on the court yelling at the officials, claiming that Duke took the ball and rolled it up the sideline. And so now Dave Bear is going to tell the Duke Blue Devils, leave the ball alone. This is a warning that will extend to both teams.
Saying that's the second time they've done it.
Well, the first time the officials have to figure maybe it's an accident, so they warn him on the second time. That's all right.
11-2 Duke. Now has been plagued by turnovers in the early going. Earl wants the ball. Bobby Hurley sags back to help Laettner with him. Makes the entry pass difficult. Barnes puts it up, and a foul on Thomas Hill. That's his second foul. Most of you will be seeing the Alabama-North Carolina game next in the Southeast region. Ohio State facing Connecticut.
And that Ohio State-Connecticut matchup is just a great matchup for the second round. The Connecticut Huskies may be getting it back a little bit.
You and I were talking about players' names before the game and why they're named as they are as Brian Davis returns. Val Barnes of Iowa, who's shooting this free throw, is named Val because he was born on Valentine's Day. That makes sense.
Have to be a tough guy to have a name like Val because you were born on Valentine's Day, though.
He'll do a lot of explaining. He had 21 points against Texas.
When you're 6'2" and 195 pounds, you don't explain very much.
11-4, Duke, 16:24 remaining in the first half.
Iowa shows the press, but they haven't really tried to set a trap. Now they do. Iowa has not been sharp on the defensive end of the court now.
Laettner gets behind Street, but hits the bottom of the rim and then scores on the follow. And there's a foul.
Duke just too powerful on the offensive end of the court. Laettner, this is his third bucket inside. Now the defense comes to help. Laettner bounces it off the rim, but look, he's got three guys around him, still powers it up. Nobody back there to help. Winters just a step late. And Laettner gets it in the basket.
And Laettner, a tremendous free throw shooter at the line, third in the ACC in free throw percentage. Set a Final Four record last year, making 12 straight free throws, and Duke leads 14-4, 4 minutes into the first half.
Duke's pressure, particularly on the ball, has really caused the Iowa offense to sputter early in the game.
Bobby Hurley caught reaching in on Moses. That's his first and a 13th foul on the Blue Devils.
Kevin Smith not really a shooter for Iowa, so that's why Hurley's free to lead.
Back in Greensboro Coliseum, where Duke has taken an early lead, there have been reports of bad blood between Acie Earl and Christian Laettner. Both players dismiss it, but Acie told me that Laettner is by far the best center that he's ever faced. He said what he hopes today is that Laettner, in an effort not to foul, gives him a little bit of room to maneuver. We'll see. Mel?
All right, Leslie, and I'm amazed by Leslie Visser's versatility. She's talked to everyone from players to coaches to electricians, but I found her interview with Gaylord, the Campbell particularly stimulating.
Leslie's very versatile, that's the truth. Makes excellent points.
Duke's ball and another Iowa turnover. Laettner for three. And a foul coming up against Duke. Looks like Grant Hill was caught climbing somebody's back.
You know, Mel, Grant Hill picks up the foul, his first. Duke so far in this game, though, has 4 offensive rebounds. Iowa doesn't have any. Duke's 10 of their 14 points have come off second chance opportunities.
Troy Skinner and Wade Lookinville are in the game now for Iowa. Hurley trying to put some pressure on Skinner. Earl overpowering Laettner, who picks up the foul.
And that's Hurley's second foul. You can see the Duke strategy is for Hurley to drop off the point guard and help inside. Neither Skinner nor Smith particularly noted for their outside shooting, but Hurley with his second personal foul. That may be an early problem for Duke.
See, Acie Earl is much more comfortable with his back to the basket when he can sit down and post up and use that turnaround jumper and half hook. Not quite as comfortable when he has to face Christian Laettner and try to shoot over him. The Earl of the Big Ten, Acie Earl, who led the conference in block shots, 5th in scoring, 6th in rebounding. Dan, I really have to ask you this. It's been bothering me all week. If Acie Earl had gone to Duke, would his college be known as the Duke of Earl?
I think so.
Earl with the block on Brian Davis. Great
Certainly
play.
the Earl of Iowa with that shot blocking ability.
Another turnover by the Hawkeyes, gobbled up by Brian Davis. That's the 5th turnover.
That's what Iowa needs to do, to get back on defense, and Earl back on defense is certainly a force.
Hurley's three-pointer is short. You could tell that was short when it left his hand. Lukenville battling Davis, a held ball, and the arrow points to Duke.
We talked about Duke's fast break. Duke's ability to finish is tremendous, but Acie Earl doing a great job running the floor. Number 4 in the country in block shots, and he showed you why right there.
One of the reasons he's such a good shot blocker is his dad, also named Acie Earl, worked with him as a kid and taught him to stay down on those head fakes. Don't go until a player actually leaves his feet. He's very quick to the ball. He's not a great leaper, but he gets to the ball quickly. He said earlier he's not fouled out of a game.
Iowa changing up on the defensive end of the court. A little diamond in one. Skinner in there guarding Laettner. Now Laettner double team.
14-15 remaining in the first half. Duke leads 14-5. Lang saves it. Grant Hill can't convert, but Laettner's been all over the offensive boards, and Earl sends one back. Laettner forces a pass, and Duke turns it over. Second turnover by the Blue Devils. Moses. Earl. Blocked from behind by Brian Davis, and here come the Blue Devils. Grant Hill misses the jam. Hurley. (16-5) Duke. Iowa really struggling at the offensive end and plagued by turnovers so far.
Duke with Hurley picking up that second personal foul, switches to a 2-3 zone. There's the stat we were talking about. Duke dominating the offensive board.
And Earl is fouled, but he also caught Tony Lang with an elbow.
That elbow was inadvertent. Lang reached around and fouled him from behind.
Coming up later today, a matchup we're looking forward to. Shaquille O'Neal and LSU against Bob Knight's Indiana Hoosiers. Georgetown, Florida State, out west in Boise.
Mike Krzyzewski very angry about that call.
Foul was called on Lang. James Winters is back in, replacing Street for Iowa.
Mike Krzyzewski doing a pretty good demonstration of what Acie Earl did right there. The turn and just smacked him in the face.
Barnes misses a three-pointer. And it's out of bounds to Iowa.
Earl is all arms and legs in there, and he turns and he smacks Lang right in the face. That's after the whistle blew. The whistle had already blown at that point. Lang got called for the foul reaching over the back. That's a tough way to get a foul, though.
Lukenville from the corner. Iowa's now 1 for 8 and has missed 7 straight shots. They'll get the ball back.
This is really the first flurry that Iowa's been able to make on the offensive board. However, they haven't been able to put the shot right back up for a conversion.
Duke beat Iowa 85-70 in a second-round game last year in Minneapolis. Laettner had 20 in that game. Grant Hill had 14 points, 14 rebounds. James Moses had 23 for Iowa. Barnes misses the three. Brian Davis launches a three-pointer. And it's 19-5 Duke.
Iowa just not getting itself organized on defense quickly enough. On this zone by Duke is probably not a bad move because Iowa not noted for its outside shooting ability. Look for Duke to pack that zone back in unless Iowa's going to convert from the perimeter.
Neither Smith nor Barnes are good three-point shooters. Winters with the turnaround. Laettner got a piece of it. A stifling Duke defense.
We've played 8 minutes of this basketball game, and the Hawkeyes only have 5 points. Now they're back to their 1-2-2 zone.
This is a team that put up 92 points in their first round game, making 98 points.
They're just not getting any blockouts at all, Mel.
Laettner for three. Acie Earl rebounds for Iowa. He has 5 rebounds so far. They got to try to push it up and get some easy baskets because once Duke gets set in their half-court defense, Iowa's had a terrible time scoring.
Well, that's a great point, but Duke doing such a great job getting back on defense. They're making a high percentage of their shots, and even when they miss, they're in position to get back.
Earl is surrounded and throws it back out.
They're doing a nice job pushing Earl away from the basket. Earl would like to be closer than that. That's a tough shot.
But no easy shots for Iowa so far. Hurley through the defense. And he's fouled.
I think Val Barnes got him. He is so quick with the basketball. Not Tom Davis, Bobby Hurley. Tom Davis used to be quick with the basketball. Now he's concerned about that young man right there.
And we'll return to Greensboro, where Duke has a 14-point lead.
Back in Greensboro, where coming up today is game 2 between Seton Hall and Missouri. I'm with a man who will be busy during that game, Norm Stewart. Norm, what's your greatest concern against Seton Hall?
Well, Seton Hall is a ball club that's big inside, but they got good perimeter shooters. But watching this ball game is something we talked to our squad about this morning. We want to get off to a good start, and I think that's really an important thing for us.
Struggling. Well, P.J. Carlissimo says he has every basketball book ever written by Norm Stewart. Is that an advantage?
I hope it works better for him than it has for me.
Thank you, Norm. Mel?
All right, thank you, Leslie. And Grant Hill goes up for a shot and is fouled by Iowa as the frustrations continue for the Hawkeyes. Foul is on Chris Street. That's his second, and the 16th foul. Duke attempting to repeat as champions for the first time since UCLA did it in 72-73. Great Cincinnati teams in the early 60s. San Francisco led by Bill Russell, Casey Jones.
Interestingly enough, Mel, as Grant Hill hits that first free throw, if you want to make Mike Krzyzewski bristle, call his Duke Blue Devils the defending champions. They'll tell you that they're not defending anything, they're pursuing. So these aren't the defending national champions, Duke Blue Devils. They are the Duke Blue Devils pursuing the national championship, and they're pursuing pretty well here in this game.
Just a matter of semantics. Sure, Coach K is happy that Grant Hill made those free throws because he made only 1 of 4 against Campbell. He's been struggling a little bit at the free throw line. It's 21-5 Duke. Iowa has missed 10 straight shots. James Moses puts it up. That's 11 straight misses, and they're 1 for 12 from the floor in the entire half. Moses, finally.
I'll tell you what, Iowa does not want to have to work that hard every time down the court for a shot. They'll take anyone they can get. But that was a tough, tough offensive sequence.
Thomas Hill cranks it up. Davis battles Earl, and Brian Davis saves it. Well, Tom Davis upset about something. The score, most likely.
One of the things that he's upset about is Duke is just wearing the Hawkeyes out on the offensive boards.
Foul is on James Winters, and that's the 17th foul. Lookenbill is back in for Iowa.
And so in effect, Iowa right now playing with only 1 guard. Tom Davis trying to make some adjustments to get some rebounding strength.
Tony Lang is in for Grant Hill.
And the other Hill. We mentioned very few people talk about this guy, but he's the 2nd leading scorer for the Duke Blue Devils. He shoots 55% from the field, 40% from beyond the three-point line.
His brother Lamont plays for Texas. They were eliminated from the tournament the first round.
Eliminated by these Iowa Hawkeyes.
The Hawkeyes went 8 minutes and 35 seconds in this first half without a field goal. It's 22-7 Duke. We're under 10 minutes.
Duke back to the man-to-man, and Hurley with those 2 personal fouls has to be careful.
Laettner deflects it. Iowa just totally out of sync right now. They turn the ball over for the 6th time. Hurley finds the open man Davis. Acie Earl rebounding well. At least he has 7 boards. Laettner with a steal. No basket. Player control foul on Christian Laettner.
Now up until the very end, this is a great looking fast break. You just can't throw the ball. That lollipop pass against the Duke Blue Devils. Laettner passes it over top of Acie Earl, and you got to admire Skinner's courage. He stands in there and takes one for the cause.
Laettner enjoyed it, even if it didn't count. That's his first foul. Lukenbill comes up short. Iowa just thoroughly frustrated. Hurley on the pull-up. Thomas Hill rebounded. And he'll go to the free throw line. And they're beginning to talk to each other a little bit again. Coming up next, Alabama, North Carolina, and later here you'll see Missouri against Seton Hall. Seton Hall coming from behind to beat LaSalle on Terry DeHare's jumper with 1.8 seconds left. Grant Hill is back in the game for the Blue Devils.
And that Alabama-North Carolina game will be a very interesting ball game. The power inside of North Carolina against the speed of Alabama. Tom Davis would like some additional speed and power for that matter. Duke just having their way with the Iowa Hawkeyes.
Duke is really not shooting a lot better than Iowa. They're shooting only 29% from the floor, but they have 12 offensive rebounds. We showed you all those second chance points earlier. That's the difference.
That's amazing. You shoot 29% and you're up 16.
24-7. Duke by 17 with 9 minutes remaining in the first half.
And the Hawkeyes trail by 2 touchdowns and a field goal.
Hawkeyes have Skinner, Lukenbill, Earl, Street, and Moses. Nice pass, Moses into Street for the basket. James Moses had a career-high 7 assists in the first round. Hurley with a great pass into Hill, but Earl got a piece of the shot.
Boy, does Earl get down the court quickly.
Lukenbill puts up a 3. 24-12 Duke. First points of the game for Wade Lukenbill, a junior from Fort Dodge, Iowa.
If you're going to get down by 17, you'd like to do it with a lot of time left, and Iowa still has plenty of time. They've just got to get it going.
Grant Hill misses the jumper. Earl with another rebound, his 8th of the first half. Iowa on a 5-0 run. Three-pointers can get you back in the game in a hurry, but Iowa has not been a great three-point shooting team. 30% from three-point range this year.
Duke back to the man-to-man defense. Oh, boy.
Moses with a nice move, but it's blocked by Tony Lang. Laettner with a lead pass to Hurley, and here they come. Lang on the follow. Again, they hammer the offensive boards. Told you the Duke assistant coaches, Jay Billis, told me that he felt they were very concerned about the rebounding, and whoever won the battle of the boards would win the game. And so far, Duke has just dominated, especially in the offensive boards.
Here they come again. It's 4-on-2.
And Grant Hill is fouled. In Milwaukee in the Midwest, Memphis State got by Pepperdine. Arkansas beat Murray State in first-round games. USC, led by Baby Jordan, Harold Miner advancing to face Georgia Tech.
I'll tell you what, Georgia Tech is going to have their hands full against USC, and that Arkansas-Memphis State game is a matchup, a rematch of a game that Memphis State won during the regular season.
Mike Krzyzewski going to his bench early with Marty Clark and Cherokee Parks coming in.
Now, we talked about Duke's work on the offensive boards. They have 17 second chance points. The Iowa Hawkeyes, but 2.
Amazing.
Well, that's the difference in the game.
Grant Hill's free throw makes it 27-12 Duke with 7:11 remaining in the half. Both Duke and Iowa are shooting very poorly, but the Blue Devils are making up for their poor shooting with work on the offensive boards and second chance points, and those have been the difference in the game so far. It's 27-12 Duke. We're under 7 minutes. First half from Greensboro.
Duke back to the zone with sort of a different lineup in the ball game. Oh, wow.
Is that a shot or a pass? I don't know what it was.
They get to keep the ball. I have no idea. I certainly, if that was me that did that, I'd claim it was a pass.
Yeah, you better claim that's a pass.
It's one of those, you let it go and you start yelling pass, pass.
catch it. Kevin Smith taking that shot/pass. Tom Davis concerned with his team's woes in this first half.
Another thing that Duke has done, their defense has kept Iowa out on the perimeter. The Hawkeyes do a great job at the free throw line, and Duke has kept them away from the charity stripe.
It's going to be real tough for Iowa to get anything inside now with Acie Earl out of the game. Barnes penetrates and misses. And we've got a foul underneath against Duke. Oh, it's called on Chris Street, and he can't believe it. That's his third foul. It looked like the foul was on Grant Hill, but it's called on Street.
Grant Hill was the guy that went flying out of bounds. I think that's a pretty good call.
Tom Davis, I'm sure he'd agree with you.
Well, I don't. He has a different perspective than me. He's sitting on the other side of the court with the towel. I think the towel is the key there. There's the shot. Parks may have gotten a piece of it. Grant Hill goes bouncing out of bounds. Not a great deal of contact there.
That's a no call.
Certainly, Tom Davis would agree with you. Been a very frustrating afternoon so far for the Hawkeyes.
Tom Davis is going to leave Street in, even though he has 3 fouls. That's also the 10th team foul, so 2 shots for Grant Hill.
And Duke, as is typical with their team, they are getting to the free throw line. They're now 9 of 12 from the stripe.
Grant Hill has come off the bench to score 5 points. The Blue Devils lead 29-12, although they've shot less than 30% from the floor. Is this a strange first half?
Very odd first half. Duke's actually made only 3 of their last 18 field goal attempts, and they're still ahead by 17 points.
Earl is back in the game, and he scores, and there's a foul.
Amazingly enough, there were 3 Duke Blue Devils around Acie Earl. He was falling down as that basket went up, but that's actually his closest shot.
Foul is on Marty Clark. James Winters is back in for the Hawkeyes.
This is an example of how hard the Hawkeyes have had to work offensively. That ball just barely gets over Parks. Lang and Clark are all there. Clark gets called for the foul.
Bobby Hurley replaces Marty Clark for Duke. Earl with 3 points, 8 rebounds, 4 blocks. He set a Big Ten shot blocking record this year. And a 3-point play for Acie Earl makes it 29-15 Duke with 6:10 remaining.
Iowa has not pressured very much in the ball game, but down 15, it looks like they're going to give the trap a chance. Duke beats it, and Iowa falls back into the 1-2-2 zone.
Brian Davis strong to the basket. He has 9 points. Duke by 16. Moses dumps it inside. The pass thrown too hard to Barnes. The Hawkeyes commit their 9th turnover. Laettner's back in for Duke. Stay with us at halftime. Jim Nance, Billy Packer, Mike Francesa in our New York studios to talk about the tournament. Wade Lookinville is back in for Iowa. I asked Jay Billis, the Duke assistant coach, how they're going to handle all these substitutes. If it's easy to get confused and forget who your man is because of the shuttle service from the Iowa bench. And he said, well, it's something we made our players aware of. And the assistant coaches are also going to remind the players who their man is during the game. Hurley into Hill, and Grant scores.
Another thing to remember, Duke plays in the Atlantic Coast Conference. They see North Carolina a couple of times a year, and North Carolina's shuttle system sometimes makes Tom Davis look like a piker over there. So
this is the biggest lead for Duke, an 18-point advantage with 5 minutes left.
Another turnover.
That's the 10th first half turnover by Iowa. Hurley working his way right through the defense. On the dish to Davis, who's been hot. That's a 2-pointer for Brian Davis, who has 11. And Duke now leads by 20.
Acie Earl playing the role of the ball in the pinball game. He's bouncing off some people inside.
He and Laettner and Parks are banging him from side to side right now. Parks has put a hand in his chest, and Earl slapped it away. He can't get it into him. He has to move up high now to take the pass.
Oh!
Steal by Davis. Earl threw it right to him. And Skinner fouls Davis. Brian Davis has been terrific in this first half. Right on his season's average. He has 11 already. That's what he's averaging for the season.
And that 11 matches the Iowa turnovers. Nice job by Skinner right there to come and just shake Davis's hand. Early we had a lot of barking at one another going on between the players.
Jay Webb, a 6'8" junior from San Jose, California, checks in for Iowa, replacing Winters. Brian Davis, a senior from Capitol Heights, Maryland. He and Christian Laettner, best friends and roomed together. Mike Krzyzewski has won 80% of his NCAA games, the highest percentage among active coaches. P.J. Carlissimo right behind. P.J. Seton Hall Pirates will be in action next against Missouri. Davis now with 13 first half points, so he's by himself scored almost as many points as Iowa has as a team.
Mel, and Iowa has turned the ball over the last 3 times down the court.
Davis up high for the rebound and fouled by Webb.
Anybody watching this basketball game today is getting a serious look at all the weapons possessed by the Duke Blue Devils. They have been very impressive against an excellent Iowa basketball team.
The Duke Blue Devils shooting for their 5th straight Final Four appearance. UCLA went 10 consecutive years, Cincinnati 5 times. So if Duke makes it, they would tie the Cincinnati Bearcats of 59 for 63 with 5 straight appearances.
In last year's game between Iowa and Duke in the second round, Duke destroyed Iowa's press and ran out to a big lead. So Iowa not coming out pressing today, but Duke has done it with defense and the fast break.
Brian Davis has poured in 15 first half points, and Duke is blowing Iowa out.
Thank you, Doctor.
I'm not a real doctor.
Duke is 4th on the all-time tournament win list, and all 5 of these teams are still alive in tournament play. You'll see North Carolina next.
North Carolina with 55. Dean Smith has been at the helm for 48 of those, and so Dean Smith set the record with that 48th win for the most wins by a coach in NCAA tournament play. Kentucky back after a 3-year absence.
Duke has a 24-point first half lead with 3:40 remaining.
The Blue Devils back to the man-to-man defense.
Smith uses a screen. A lot of tall timber there, and it's blocked by Cherokee Parks. Hurley on the dish to Grant Hill. And the lead climbs to 26 points in the first half.
They just explode down the court.
Moses with a nice left-hand move off the glass. He had 23 last year against Duke. He has only 4 this game.
If you're the Iowa Hawkeyes, you got to try to get it under 20 at the half. There's the foul on Moses. Hurley's going to go to the line.
Alabama, North Carolina coming up next.
Alabama is a team with tremendous quickness. They've got 3 big-time basketball players: Latrell Sprewell, James Robinson, and Robert Horry. And they've got all kinds of guys who can run. Now, I don't know if they can get up and down the court like Duke has today, but they'll give North Carolina some problems with their quickness. North Carolina, on the other hand, with their Eric Montross inside, could present problems for the Tide.
The Blue Devils continue to convert the free throws. They are now 16 for 19 at the line in the first half, and they lead 43-17 with 3 minutes left. Thomas Hill is back in for Duke. Moses with the scoop. He scored the last 2 Iowa backs. What a game he had against Texas. 22 points, 16 rebounds, and 7 assists.
Here's the Iowa pressure. Duke really likes to attack the pressure.
Brian Davis with a 2-pointer. He's got 17 already. His career high is 30. And it's 45-19. Barnes connects from the corner, a 3-pointer.
Well, I'm sure Tom Davis is happy to see his Hawkeyes heating up, but they cannot afford, obviously, to trade baskets with the Duke Blue Devils.
Thomas Hill. The scary part about it is now Duke was shooting poorly earlier and had a big lead, but now they're heating up. Parks blocks the shot of Smith, and then Smith commits a foul.
Now that is tremendous hustle by Bobby Hurley. He tried to draw the charge, was laying flat on his back, saw the ball coming toward him, jumped up, grabbed it, and got fouled. Watch Hurley. He's down on the ground. Parks blocks the ball. As the ball bounces up, so does Hurley. He grabs the thing, and Smith fouls him.
That's a second foul on Kevin Smith. And Bobby Hurley will go to the line.
And hidden in all of this, Cherokee Parks has come off the bench, blocked a couple of shots for Duke, and has played very well.
Tony Lang will replace Parks. Talking about Duke being pulled early, but holding that big lead. Now they're hot. They've made 7 straight shots, so that's got to be thoroughly frightening if you're Iowa.
If you're Iowa, I think you've got to try to break down the game. Obviously, you've got 2 minutes left here in the first half, so there's a 2-minute segment, and then you've got 4-minute segments in the second half, and I think that's the way you have to play the game. Divide that second half 20 minutes up into 4-minute segments and try to chop a little bit off that lead each segment. And you can't do that by trading baskets.
Duke by 26. Acie Earl, Laettner got a piece of it. Lang going to the rack for the rebound, but he's called for traveling. But did you see him get off the floor for that rebound?
Trying to control the ball and pass it as he's falling down, and he very nearly did it.
Grant Hill replaces Hurley, so Hill will become the point guard now, the position he occupied when Bobby Hurley was out with a broken foot.
I don't know what Winters was doing right there. If he completes that bounce pass to Moses, Moses is in deep trouble on the baseline. Hurley with 2 fouls won't be back this half.
Wade Bill replaces Moses.
Moses probably just happy to get out of there in case Winters has been throwing the ball again.
Barnes fumbles it away to Laettner. 12 turnovers in the first half by Iowa. Grant Hill spins inside. Earl sends it back out. That's his 5th block shot.
He's going to give him a try again, and Earl does the same thing.
Winters got that one. Another leaper. He has a 35-inch vertical jump. What was your vertical jump, just out of curiosity?
1.5 inches.
About what I figured. Davis grabbing the loose ball. Another turnover. 13 of them by Iowa. Just over a minute left. Brian Davis going wild, but misses this one. He has 17 first half points. Earl comes down swinging his elbow. I think it's a groan from the crowd. Looking Bill. Winters fouled by Tony Lang. If Duke makes it to the Final Four this year, they will tie North Carolina for second on the list of Final Four appearances. UCLA leading the way with 13.
And that's college basketball's royalty right there. Look at the names of those teams.
Hurley is back in the game.
I'm a little surprised Hurley's back in with those 2 fouls.
Parks is also back. Less than a minute remaining in the first half. On the left is Tommy Amaker, a fine Duke guard. He was the all-time assist leader until Bobby Hurley broke his record earlier this year.
And the gentleman sitting right next to Tommy Amaker is Pete Gaudette, who does a great job with Duke's big guys, including Cherokee Parks, who just blocked that one.
Rodell Davis, who just checked in, scores for Iowa.
Pete Gaudette does a great job working with Duke's big men.
48-24, Duke, less than 40 seconds remaining in the half. An awesome first half performance by Duke. They shot poorly early, but now they're hitting everything from the free throw line, from the floor. They're blocking shots and rebounding, running the break. It's been a clinic in the last 10 minutes.
Boy, it sure has been. And Hurley back in the ball game, even though he's got the 2 fouls, simply because Duke is going to try to hold the ball for the last shot, and they'd like to have their point guard in there to do it.
Laettner gets behind the defense.
Skinner stripped the ball. Nice play.
Iowa trying to get off a shot. A prayer by Barnes falls short. That's the end of the first half with the score Duke 48, Iowa 24. CBS Sports exclusive coverage of the NCAA Basketball Championship will continue after this message and a word from your local station.
CBS Sports exclusive coverage of the second round of the NCAA Basketball Championship is sponsored by Pontiac and your local Pontiac dealer. We build excitement. Energizer brand batteries, nothing outlasts the Energizer. They keep going and going. And by Reebok, who asks, who is the world's greatest athlete, Dan or Dave?
Welcome back to Greensboro. Duke with a 24-point lead at the half. And let's check in with Leslie Visser.
Well, Mel, obviously the famed Duke fans have no empathy for Iowa. They are chanting Campbell's dead, or Campbell, of course, was the tiny school that was Duke's first-round victim. As for the folks from Iowa, they said they weren't prepared by watching the tape for the level of athleticism of Duke, and that they're going to try to pound it inside and close the gap. Mel?
They should have run those tapes and fast forward. That would have given them a better idea what Duke can do. Look at the halftime stats. You see, Duke's not shooting well, but they're up by 24.
Duke's not shooting well. They are getting to the free throw line. Iowa has not been able to get the ball inside. There's what Duke has been doing extremely well. They're pounding the offensive boards and converting their opportunities. Davis with a big, big half for Duke. Interestingly, Mel, Acie Earl is the only Iowa starter with a rebound in the first half.
Acie hits his first shot of the second half. He was 1 for 6 from the floor in the first half. And it's 48-26 Duke. For the Blue Devils, they have Thomas Hill and Bobby Hurley, Brian Davis, Christian Laettner, and Tony Lang, who grabs the rebound. Out of bounds to Iowa. The Hawkeyes started with Kevin Smith and Val Barnes, Chris Street, James Moses, and Acie Earl opening the second half.
Street picked up 3 pretty quick personal fouls in the first half. He didn't have any rebounds and only had 2 points. So with him back in the game, Iowa might be able to get it inside, and they need to get it inside the basket, and Moses just did.
A 2-point shot by James Moses makes it 48-28 Duke.
So Iowa's got the first 4 points of the second half.
I guess what you've got to do is keep looking at that scoreboard and seeing a 20-plus point lead and just try to play your game and chip away at the lead, put together a few runs in the second half and get back in it. Brian Davis had 17 the first half.
The best way to do it is to try to divide the game into 4-minute segments and get a little closer each 4-minute segment. So the last 4 minutes, you've got an opportunity to win the game.
Brian Davis is fouled. Duke playing Iowa right now. Later, it'll be Missouri against Seton Hall. Missouri beat West Virginia in a game that was prominent due to 3 power outages here. Game took 3 hours and 10 minutes to complete on Thursday. Have we recovered?
I recovered. You're the one that had to do everything. I just sat here in the dark, and I'm usually in the dark, so.
Well, we all got a charge out of that game, no question.
Now, Duke played at such an intense level in the first half. Mike Krzyzewski doesn't want them to come out flat in the second half. They worked the clock down to 1 second left before they shot it, and Davis misses both of the free throws. So Iowa, who scored 2 buckets in a row, has a chance to cut into the lead once again. Man-to-man for Duke.
Val Barnes overshoots it. Moses up with a loose ball. They got to get him going. He was quiet in the first half. Traveling call on James Moses. That's the 14th turnover of the game by Iowa.
That's Moses' first rebound. Long pass by Laettner. 4 on 2.
Hurley dumps it inside to Thomas Hill. 50-28 Duke. 2 minutes into the second half. Duke in a man-to-man. They use both zone and man in the first half. Hurley really pressuring Smith.
That's just great defense. Just tremendous defense. Here we go again.
Thomas Hill misses the shot. Smith taken away by Laettner. 3-on-1, and Christian Laettner stops the fast break.
They play excellent defense on the half-court level now, and they play excellent defense in transition.
Laettner screens for Hurley.
And as they showed you in the first half, they can go from defense to offense very quickly. That's a bad pass right there by Thomas Hill.
7th turnover of the game by Duke. A collision, both go down, and traveling is called on James Moses. That brings Tom Davis off the bench, and Moses is upset. Moses thought he got fouled by Brian Davis.
I actually think that was a break for Moses, because I think if the foul was going to be called, it should have been an offensive foul.
Hurley blocked by Acie Earl. He has 6 rejections in this game, and we get a held ball. The arrow points to Duke. Ohio State meeting Connecticut coming up next. It'll be Alabama against North Carolina. How do you see that game, Don?
Well, I think that one thing you can be sure that you'll see in that game is Wimp Sanderson and a plaid coat. But I think that'll be a great matchup. North Carolina has tremendous inside power. North Carolina beat Duke earlier in the year, so the Tar Heels can certainly play with anybody. Alabama with a very impressive end of the season win against Arkansas.
Troy Skinner is back in the game for Iowa. Skinner, a starter most of his sophomore and junior years. He's also started 8 games this year. He is number 11.
Iowa in that 1-2-2 zone. Moses will drop down and follow the ball. Iowa did not do a very good job finding people on the perimeter in this defense in the first half. Duke had a lot of uncontested shots. Davis is standing over there in front of the bench waving for the ball.
Can you blame him the way he shot?
No, certainly not.
First half points for Brian. Hurley puts up a 3-pointer. Tony Lang with the offensive rebound.
Tom Davis is going to see Duke getting offensive rebounds in his sleep for a long time.
Foul down low on Tony Lang. He and Street were battling for position. That's his 3rd foul.
That's good right there.
Out west in Boise, it'll be Indiana against Shaquille O'Neal and LSU. Georgetown meeting Florida State.
Florida State going into that ball game won't have point guard Charlie Ward. I really think that'll hurt him.
Skinner into Earl. Nice pass by Skinner. 8 points now for Acie Earl. 20-point lead for Duke with just over 15 minutes remaining in the second half.
So far in the second half, Iowa has been able to shut off the Duke fast break and get the ball inside on the offensive end.
Grant Hill slices inside. Earl with another block. He has 7 block shots. That's within 2 of his own school record of 9. We get a timeout with 15:40 remaining in the game. It's Duke up by 20 over Iowa. Duke's Christian Laettner is running with some pretty fast company. He is now 4th on the all-time scoring list in tournament play, within 3 of Oscar Robertson, but up there with the Big E, Elvin Hayes, and the Big O, and Danny Manning. Acie Earl with a steal, so it's very conceivable that if Duke continues to win this tournament, Laettner will become the all-time tournament scoring leader.
One of the interesting things about that is you don't see names like Lou Alcindor and Bill Walton there.
Those UCLA teams had such great balance, though. They weren't one-man shows by any stretch of the imagination.
Now, we talked about playing the game in 4-minute segments. Iowa won the first 4-minute segment of the second half by 4.
Skinner slips in for the short jumper, rebounded by Thomas Hill. He has 5 rebounds. Just under 15 minutes remaining in the second half. Duke leads by 20. Their biggest lead has been 26. Brian Davis can't wait to get his hands on the ball, but Earl with another block. His shot blocking is sensational. He's got 8 of them.
Yeah, bro.
Rodell Davis knocks it down for Iowa, and they've cut the lead from 26 to 18.
And that's just a great job. Duke continues to attack the basket, and now Iowa gets another turnover. Duke, which looked so sharp in the first half, looks a little flat here at the start of the second.
Acie Earl blocked by Laettner, and here comes Duke 3-on-1. Brian Davis scores to make it 52-32. He has 19 points, a leading scorer in the game.
We talked about Duke's ability to go from the defense to the offense with just in a sudden hurry. They haven't done that until that point in the second half.
It's easy to get complacent with that big lead.
Now what?
Foul is called on Christian Laettner. That's his second.
Acie Earl blocking 8 shots. Laettner gets this one right here, but you can see as it goes to Davis, now suddenly Duke pushes the basketball. Davis to Hurley in the middle, Hurley back to Davis. Perfectly executed 3-on-1 fast break.
James Moses and Chris Street are back in the game for Iowa. Duke has shut down Moses so far. He had a big game against him last year. The second round game in Minneapolis. He had 23 points in that game. He has 8 so far and just 1 rebound. Street. Chris Street's basket makes it 52-34 Duke. He has only 4 points. Another Duke turnover, and here come the Hawkeyes with Laettner back on defense. 52-36. That lead beginning to slip away from the Blue Devils. It's gone from 26 to 16 points. Dangerous pass picked off by Moses. And momentum definitely on Iowa's side right now. Does Duke need a timeout?
Iowa did not press in the first half. Davis with a great job right there. But the press has been very effective in the second half. That's now 17 turnovers by Iowa. Mike Krzyzewski's team just not very sharp, and I think that you hit the nail on the head when you talked about how easy it is to get complacent with the big lead.
Thomas Hill is fouled by Winters, who thought he had a clean block. We are in Greensboro, North Carolina. Second round action from the Greensboro Coliseum. Duke and Iowa. Duke dominating the first half. They led by as many as 26 points. But the Iowa Hawkeyes have come back to cut the lead to 16. I'm Mel Proctor along with Dan Bonner. And now we get a timeout with 12:52 remaining as the Hawkeyes try to make a run at Duke. Iowa has outscored Duke 8-2 over the last 5 minutes. And Dan, I think you and I agree that this game started to get away from Duke when they began to hold the ball for 20 to 30 seconds on each possession.
I don't know that they were intentionally holding the basketball. Iowa in the second half has done a very good job taking away Mike Krzyzewski's Blue Devils' fast break, and as a result, Duke having to play against the set defense every time down the court is not as impressive as the Duke Blue Devils on the fast break.
Duke continues to hammer the free throws home. They've hit 18 of 24 in the game. Thomas Hill, who had a big first-round game with 20 points against Campbell, he now has 9, and it's 54-36 Duke.
When Laettner and Street just gave each other some pops as that ball went through the basket.
2 tough kids. Ball was kicked, so they'll reset the 45-second clock. Coming up next, Alabama and North Carolina. And in our second game here from Greensboro, Missouri meets Seton Hall. Street, see, they may have a foul on Laettner. Yep, that's 3 on him.
Iowa came out in the second half. The strategy was to punch the ball inside. They have done it successfully.
Duke has just 1 more field goal than Iowa in the game, 16-15, but the difference at the free throw line, Duke is now 19 for 25. Iowa, a team that normally gets to the free throw line with great frequency, has shot only 8.
And you have to credit the Duke defense with that disparity. In the first half, Duke kept Iowa from attacking the basket.
Another turnover by Duke.
Duke just they're not handling the basketball well in the transition in the second half, and as a result, they cannot convert the opportunities that they've gotten.
Poorly thrown pass by Kevin Smith, and Iowa gives it up. The 18th turnover by the Hawkeyes. Duke has more turnovers in the second half, though. Talked about Iowa's need to get to the free throw line. They have made more free throws than their opponents have attempted this year. That's been the case for the last 5 years. The only year it wasn't true was in '89 and '90 when they failed to win 20 games and failed to make it in the tournament. So free throw shooting is a big part of Iowa's game.
1-3-1 zone now by Iowa.
Laettner waiting for Earl to go up to try to block it. Street blocks Davis' shot. Laettner scores. Foul is on Acie Earl. That's his third. Remember, he has never fouled out of a game this year.
Mel, this looks like a replay of the first few minutes of the basketball game. Duke with the shot, the offensive rebound by Davis, some tremendous strength to get the ball up. Street with the block, but another offensive rebound and the putback by Laettner. Duke started this game by pounding the offensive boards and converting.
James Winters and Rodell Davis are back in for Iowa as Laettner converts the three-point play to give Duke a 20-point lead. And Christian Laettner just moved into the number 4 spot on the scoring list among NCAA leaders, tying Oscar Robertson. So with the next point he scores, they'll move ahead of the Big O, the great guard with the Cincinnati Bearcats. One of the shot clocks is out. The other one reads 55 seconds, which won't work either.
Tom Davis will take the 55. Mike Krzyzewski wants Iowa to play with this one.
So the call going out for Mr. Wizard. He has been busy throughout this.
He hasn't been very successful, though, even though he's been busy.
Had the well-documented electrical problems on Thursday here with play delayed 3 times during the Missouri-West Virginia game, and now we've got a problem with the shot clocks.
Well, if somebody plugs in that toaster again, we could really have a problem if the shot clock is on the blink. The teams are going to go to the benches while tournament officials figure out this shot clock.
Let's take a look at action elsewhere. In Milwaukee in the Midwest, Memphis State got by Pepperdine, and Arkansas beat Murray State. Georgia Tech is facing number 2 seed USC. We'll be right back. Vastly improved shooting for the Iowa Hawkeyes in the second half, 60% compared to 29% in the first half, but the work by Duke on the offensive glass has been the difference.
And the work by Duke on the defensive end of the court. There's Acie Earl with a pass.
I certainly hope so.
Of course it was a pass. Tough pass, though. Again, the Duke defense continues to be strong. They've struggled offensively with their ball handling in the transition, but their defense continues to be strong.
Grant Hill open underneath, and Bobby Hurley hits him with a strike.
And you could see the reaction of Acie Earl, his hands on his hip, gazing towards the ceiling, very disgusted that Grant Hill was lost in there.
Iowa cut Duke's lead down to 16, but now it's back up to 22. Earl forces one up, but draws the foul on Thomas Hill.
Iowa a couple of times today has struggled with finding guys. There's Earl, bunches off the screen from Grant Hill, but then nobody picks up. Hill screening against Earl. You can see another Iowa player run to the corner on a switch. They did not communicate very well. Grant Hill thanking Bobby Hurley for the pass.
Acie Earl scores. He has 10 points, and it's 59-39 Duke, 10:40 remaining, second half. Full court pressure by Iowa. Duke has Hurley, Thomas Hill, Grant Hill, Laettner, and Davis on the floor. Brian Davis for 3. Winters rebounds for the Hawkeyes.
I don't know that that's the shot Mike Krzyzewski wanted in that particular situation, but that's the shot that Tom Davis would like to see more of.
Troy Skinner knocks down the three-pointer for his first points of the game, and it's 59-42 Duke. Hurley with another fine pass. This one to Davis, rebounding the miss.
And Acie Earl created both of those missed shots. Davis, so conscious of his shot blocking ability, missed 2.
Moses. Earl with the offensive board. And the lead is down to 15. This is close as Iowa's been in the second half. They were trailing by 24 at the half and have trailed by as many as 26. Hurley throws it away. Duke has been very inconsistent in the second half.
No, they've been pretty consistent, Mel. They've been pretty bad, actually.
Consistently inconsistent.
Handling the ball against this Iowa pressure. Mike Krzyzewski obviously very frustrated. One of the problems for Duke, even when they beat the Iowa pressure, Acie Earl is back there under the basket. He's blocked so many shots, the Blue Devils a little reluctant to take it at him, and they're missing their outside shots.
Acie Earl has 8 blocks within one of his own school record. And that may be the 4th foul. No, they'll call it on Hurley. If they had called it on Laettner, it would have been 4, but Hurley picks up his 3rd. And he's not reaching in.
If looks could kill right there, Hurley. Looking at the officials.
5 team fouls on Duke. Iowa has 3. So no free throws yet. Street is back in, replacing Winters for Iowa.
9:29 left in the game. It's still 15 points, but Iowa back within striking distance.
But they are not a great three-point team. They can't count on the threes to get them back. Skinner into Earl. Is that what he wanted to do?
Absolutely, absolutely. Get it up over Laettner any way you can. It's back to 13. What a tremendous job by Iowa.
Dangerous pass. Grant Hill saves it and throws it away, and it's Iowa's ball.
And Mike Krzyzewski's up calling another timeout. Blue Devils now turned it over 15 times.
Duke has come unglued in the second half. 10 turnovers in the second half. It's 59-46 Duke.
I thought Mike Krzyzewski, I thought I saw him signal a timeout, but obviously he did not. Duke goes into the zone defense. Hey,
Barnes puts up a three-pointer. Can you believe it? Duke's lead has gone from 26 to 10 points.
And Laettner throws it away again.
Bill got it. An 8-point lead. Incredible comeback by Iowa, and Duke will call a timeout. Outscored Duke 14-0 on this run. We told you the Hawkeyes wanted to peck away at the lead, but this is more like a shotgun blast.
Mel, I'm telling you, Iowa chopped off 4 points in the first 4 minutes, 3 points in the second 4 minutes, and 9 points in this third 4-minute segment. So they're playing the 4-minute segments in this half very, very well. And Mel, you know as well as I do, once you lose the kind of intensity that Duke had in the first half, it's very, very difficult to get it back. This is a good Iowa team, and they're playing with an awful lot of confidence right now.
Lang into Laettner, and he goes down hard. Duke has as many turnovers in the second half as they do points, 11 of each.
And when you're struggling, if you're the Duke Blue Devils, you may as well go to your money guy, and that's Christian Laettner. And I'll tell you what, if you're going to foul the guy inside, make sure he's not going to get the ball up on the backboard, and Looking Bill and Street do a great job of that.
Wade Looking Bill picks up the foul. That's his second. Duke has seen this lead shrink from 26 to 8 points. Laettner now has 11 points. Ten-point lead for Duke with 7:58 remaining, but Iowa has up ahead of steam. Hey, Skinner's really studied their backcourt, too. He's done a nice job. Smith struggled early in the game. Duke really pressured him and made it rough on him. Barnes unable to penetrate.
Now that's an excellent point. Smith really wants to push the ball up the court. Skinner more of a half-court kind of player.
They want to go into Earl. Acie moves out on the wing. Tough shot. Rebounded by Tony Lang. Bobby Hurley. Two-pointer by Hurley makes it 63-51. Hurley has 10 points.
One of the problems, of course, Mel, when you get so far behind Even a great run doesn't get you all the way there, and Duke, you know they're going to respond.
Duke led by as many as 26 points. They were up by 24 at the half. Barnes works inside. Tony Lang with a couple of big rebounds in the last two possessions, and he was fouled by Chris Street of Iowa.
I thought that was a very big possession for the Iowa Hawkeyes. The ball just rolled off the rim, and Antonio Lang there once again for the rebound.
Moses and Rodell Davis, along with Smith, back in for Iowa. The fourth foul on Chris Street, who leaves the game. Winters also back. We've got Winters, Moses, Smith, Davis, and Acie Earl in the game for Iowa. For Duke, it's Hurley, Grant Hill, Thomas Hill, Lang, and Laettner. 6:40 remaining. Duke leading by 12.
Pretty solid screen that Winters ran into, huh?
What's that? This is what happened to Duke earlier. This is when they got in trouble, when they had to hold the ball for 20 to 30 seconds in each possession. That's when Iowa began to make their run. Shot clock down to 10 seconds. 6 seconds. 4 seconds. Laettner puts it up. Big basket by Christian Laettner to give Duke a 14-point lead. Rodell Davis with a turnaround jumper. Laettner active at both ends.
That's the hammer right there. That basket by Laettner as the shot clock is running out after Iowa did a tremendous defensive job, and then the Hawkeyes shooting the ball very quickly. They can't score.
It just takes a little bit out of you emotionally when you work that hard on defense. The shot clock almost expires, and then you give up a shot like that. It really hurts. 5.5 remaining. A 14-point lead for Duke. Earl shuts Hurley off.
Hurley doesn't want any part of that.
Smart kid. He goes to Duke.
The shot clock running down again.
Hurley trying to create something, and does. 12 points for Bobby Hurley. Duke leads by 16 as we hit the 5-minute mark. Rodell Davis slapped away by Laettner. Acie Earl. 67-53 Duke.
Laettner taking his time, taking the ball out of bounds. Great catch.
Grant Hill with a leaping ability saved a couple of those errant passes in the second half. 4:38 remaining. Duke leads by 14.
This is where Duke's versatility really, really helps them. All their guys can handle the ball. Acie Earl is just going to have a very difficult time with Antonio Lang out there, so that's going to give Duke an outlet. But the Blue Devils obviously going to take some air out of the basketball, run the shot clock down. The last two possessions, they've done it superbly. That's over and back.
Turnover by Duke. The 17th turnover by the Blue Devils. Coming up next, Alabama and North Carolina. Later here in Greensboro, Missouri meets Seton Hall. Chris Street is back in the game for Iowa. Later today, Connecticut, Ohio State, Memphis State, Arkansas, and so on.
A great day of college basketball.
That was a pass intended for Winters.
And Winters gets the foul. Laettner anticipating the pass. That's an awfully difficult pass to throw all the way over the defense with Laettner standing there waiting for it.
Third foul on Winters.
Winters is only 6'5". He's a great leaper, but it's going to be tough for him to get the lob when Christian Laettner's ready.
Iowa with full court pressure. Grant Hill saves another one.
Just throw it up there and let that kid go get it.
It's been like a hockey goalie making saves in the second half.
More like a wide receiver pulling it down in traffic.
Less than 4 minutes remaining in the game. Duke leading by 14.
Brian Davis has been very quiet offensively in the second half. He had the big offensive first half.
Laettner gets behind the defense. And a foul.
He went looking for the contact, Mel. He caught that ball and went looking for the contact to create the three-point play. Laettner gets behind Street. No help back there. Laettner catches the ball. He glances. He sees Winters coming. He just powers it up there. You can see the big guy's reaction.
4 fouls on Winters. What I like about Laettner is he may look like a choir boy, but he's got a little mean streak in him.
Oh, he is one tough son of a gun, I'll tell you what.
3-point play for Christian Laettner, and Duke has opened up a 17-point lead. Laettner with 17 points. He's been the difference in the last 3 or 4 minutes, and he slapped one away. Moses forces a pass, and the omnipresent Christian Laettner grabs it.
He seems as if he is everywhere. Looks like the Hawkeyes, with their tremendous comeback, they made the Blue Devils angry.
Hurley into Grant Hill, who backs it out.
Doing Hill no favors. Acie Earl standing right there. 11-2 run since that last Duke timeout.
We're under 3 minutes. Duke by 17. They seem to have things under control now, but boy, did Iowa throw a scare into them in the second half. Hurley for 3. Out of bounds to Iowa. At the conclusion of every NCAA tournament game, we'll select the Chevrolet players of the game. In conjunction with the award, Chevrolet will donate $1,000 to the General Scholarship Fund of both schools. We have 2.5 minutes remaining in the game. James Moses with a tough shot. He's been held to 10 points. Duke by 15. Street with a steal.
That's great defense by Thomas Hill. That's just a tremendous job by Hill to cut off that basket.
Acie Earl out of control and picks up a charging foul. That's his 4th foul. Christian Laettner's now moved into the number 2 spot behind Elvin Hayes on the all-time tournament scoring list. So he's within 27 of the Big E, and as long as Duke can continue to win, he will become the all-time scoring leader in NCAA tournament play. Grant Hill with a heads-up play, tipping it to Brian Davis.
And Davis elects to hold the ball back out. Hill's all under the basket.
Grant Hill has really done a great job going up high in the air to grab those passes against the press. Street and Laettner were getting into it, I believe. Street has been called for his 5th foul. He's gone.
And Skinner really has something to say to Charlie Range. He is barking at Range now. He's barking at Laettner. Street's going to have to go. He and Laettner have been at one another the entire basketball game. This is one hard-nosed kid.
Street is upset, but he is fouled out of the game. This is like trying to argue a parking ticket. Just accept it and go home.
Yeah, they're not going to change their mind, that's for sure. And it may be one of those instances. Laettner may have gotten the first shot in, but what the official saw was the response, and that happens a great many times. You've got to respond when you're not looking.
Street is still upset. Christian Laettner with 17 points. Hit several big baskets down the stretch.
And down the stretch is the key, Mel. Laettner was solid the entire game, but when they needed him to step up, he stepped up big time.
Duke has converted 24 of 30 free throw attempts. Make it 25 out of 31. And Tony Lang replaces Christian Laettner with 1:41 remaining. The first-team All-American and ACC Player of the Year, carrying his team down the stretch. Laettner with 19 points and 8 rebounds.
Couple of block shots, couple of steals. He's had a tremendous game.
Got a foul as Val Barnes was pushed by Brian Davis.
Barnes had a big game Thursday against Texas, and Duke has sort of taken him out of the offense as well. So Moses and Barnes, who were big against Texas, not able really to get the same kind of games going against Duke.
Three-pointer by Skinner. Brian Davis is up for the loose ball and fouled by Winters. Winters for Winters. He's gone. Well, I would hope that Duke would learn from what happened in the second half, because I think you and I sensed that when they came out for the second half with a 24-point lead, they got a little complacent. You know, it's easy for that to happen. It's human nature when you're ranked #1 all year long. You're blowing this team out. You appear to have the game wrapped up and you let down, but it's something they cannot afford to happen as they face tougher opponents later in the tournament.
The only time they can afford to let it happen, Mel, is when they're up 24 points at halftime. This is a fine Iowa basketball team, and you just could not expect that Duke was going to play at that feverish pitch. We're going to get the same kind of basketball game, Alabama against North Carolina, coming up, and here we'll be watching Missouri and Seton Hall.
Christian Laettner and Bobby Hurley are both on the sidelines for Duke, so they have Cherokee Parks, Tony Lang, Brian Davis, Thomas Hill, and Grant Hill on the floor.
Hurley with 12 points and 8 assists.
Brian Davis has 20, but only 3 in the second half. He had 17 points at halftime.
He wore them out in the first half. A tremendous first half by Brian Davis.
Marty Clark checks in for the Blue Devils, replacing Davis. Free throw shooting, offensive rebounding, and second chance points have been the difference in this game. All in Duke's favor. Val Barnes puts it up. James Moses casts one up. Clark fouls it.
And let's see if they give him 2 or 3 free throws.
It'll be 3. A lot of action coming up later tonight. Connecticut and Ohio State, Memphis State, Arkansas, the Hoyas in action against Florida State. Looking forward to that matchup between Indiana and Shaquille O'Neal's LSU Tigers.
Indiana, of course, a very solid basketball team, but they don't have anybody in the middle to go one-on-one with Shaquille O'Neal. But that Indiana defense, very good team defense. I think that Georgia Tech USC matchup is going to be a real good one, Mel. Georgia Tech, one of the bigger teams in college basketball. They start a huge front line. See that front line against the extreme athleticism of the Trojans.
Moses makes it 74-57 Duke with just over a minute remaining, and the Blue Devils will hold on and win this one, but they certainly had a scare about midway through this second half. Foul is on Lookinbill. 2 free throws coming up for Duke. Tom Davis season about to end.
Among the things that drive coaches crazy, Tom Davis in last year's second-round matchup against Duke pressed at the start of the game, and Duke destroyed the press. So this year the game plan doesn't include the press in the first half. Duke dominates the first half, so you go back to the press, and suddenly the press works very effectively. So in a coach's mind, particularly after a loss, there's a lot of what might have been, what might have been, what ifs. And I'm sure Tom Davis is going to think about this one for a while.
And I know Duke was expecting to see that press early. They were prepared to work against it. An 18-point lead for Duke for under a minute. So Duke will advance to Philadelphia next week. Acie Earl with a rebound. He's had a good second half, and that counts. Earl will be back next year. He's just a junior. But they lose James Moses. Rodell Davis, also a senior. A young Iowa team for the most part, though. Kenny Blakeney is in for Duke. Also in the game is Ray Burke. Grant Hill leaves. Tony Lang departs. And Duke has this one wrapped up. Big numbers for Earl. Almost a triple-double. And that's the hard way to do it. Getting in double figures and block shots. He's got 8 of those. 75-60. Duke, 38.5 seconds left. Moses with a steal. That's an over and back violation.
Can't say enough about the effort of the Iowa Hawkeyes. Duke came out a little bit flat to start the second half because they had the big lead. It would have been just as easy for the Hawkeyes to roll over and die down 24 points. They battled back to within 8, but then Duke shifted into a higher gear and just blew away.
Duke looking for their 30th win of the year. Timeout is called by Thomas Hill. He had some difficulty inbounding, but should be no problem the rest of the way, at least in this region, for Duke. 35 seconds left in the game. Duke has a 15-point lead. Talk about the keys for this game. One key, the fact that Iowa couldn't get to the free throw line. They're averaging almost 30 free throws a game and shot only 12 today. Parks to Blakeney, getting a little fancy there. And a 3-second violation is called on Duke. That's the 20th turnover by the Blue Devils. Sure, Mike Krzyzewski will have a little chat with his lads about the turnovers in this game, even though they're going to win.
Coaches always like it when you win, but you still have things to talk about.
Acie Earl misses. And a foul against Duke. It's on Marty Clark.
So Duke moves on to Philadelphia, and in Philadelphia they'll face the winner of our next game. The next game here is Missouri against Seton Hall.
How do you see a matchup with either of those two teams?
Well, I think Seton Hall is a team that could really give the Duke Blue Devils some problems because they play such great half-court offense and defense. Missouri is a team that could create some problems because of the extreme athleticism and abilities of Anthony Peeler. Anytime you have one great player, sometimes he can just take over a basketball game.
Kevin Smith replaces Skinner. If we get that Duke-Seton Hall matchup, it would be a battle of the Hurley brothers. Bobby Hurley of Duke, Danny Hurley, the freshman for Seton Hall. Burt puts it up. And that'll do it. Well, Duke holding off a furious second half rally by Iowa to win it. 75-62 the final scores. The Blue Devils win their 30th game of the year. They're now 30-2. And they move to the next step. Next week in Philadelphia, awaiting the winner of the Missouri-Seton Hall game. The Chevrolet players of the game are Acie Earl of Iowa, who finished with 19 points, 8 block shots, and Christian Laettner of Duke, who also had 19 points. So Duke led by 24 at the half, but had to hold off Iowa in the second half to win it. Final score 75-62 Duke. And right now let's go back to Jim Nantz in our studios in New York.
All right, thank you very much, Mel. And I guess it's only fitting that the Duke Blue Devils become the first team into the Sweet 16. And by the way, for those of you who are out walking the dog, as Francesa suggested at halftime, got down to 8, Mike.
8 once, then right back up. Folks, you didn't miss a thing.
Billy, what did you think of the game?
I think I told him it would get below 10.
Yes, he did.
No.
Yes, you did. I said it would not get below 10. He said it would.
Well, a couple of red flags came out for me in that game, Jim. The first thing, I would go back to the St. John's game in the ACC Big East matchup where Duke had the big lead. Also the Michigan game we did this year where they blow somebody away and then kind of get complacent. A Duke team with 20 turnovers at this stage in the year is something for Mike Krzyzewski to worry about. And I also was real surprised. Mike is a guy that pulls the quick whistle when his team is getting out of sync. They got out of sync, a 14-0 run, no timeouts by Mike. He'll have a lot to say after this game.
In fact, he has a lot to say right now, Billy, because he's standing by live in Greensboro with our Leslie Visser. So let's go right back to that site. Leslie?
Here with the man who handled the Big South on Thursday and the Big Ten today, but this was an unusual game, Mike.
Yeah, Leslie, it was a weird game. I'm not sure if we can play much better for about 19 minutes. We didn't end the half real well, the first half, even though we had a big lead. And I think it started again in the second half. We were disjointed, and Iowa wouldn't quit. They made big shots. They got it down to 8. Then we started playing like an excellent team again. So it was a good win over an excellent team.
Ultimately, was your defense. You forced 22 turnovers.
Yeah, our defense was outstanding. And because in the first half, we scored 48 points. We only shot 37%. I think we were 7 for 27 with jump shots. And I think our guys didn't understand that. They saw us scoring a lot of points. They thought our offense was going great, but it wasn't our offense, it was our defense.
Well, congratulations to you, on to Philadelphia.
All right,
thank you, Mike. Back to you.
All right, thanks.
Thank you, Leslie. So 2 wins away from a 5th straight Final Four and 6 out of 7 for Duke. Okay, the lineup for the rest of the day. 225 tip. We're nearing that for Alabama and North Carolina. Missouri and Seton Hall, they've set it now for a 2:42 beginning. And then the next set of games around 4:30. Some will see UConn and Ohio State. In fact, most of the nation gets that game. Others will see Memphis State and Arkansas, Georgetown against Florida State to other parts. And then the last part of our quadruple header, LSU and Indiana out west, as well as Georgia Tech against Harold Miner and the Trojans of USC.